My name is Dorothea. I am 20 years old. I live in a quiet town called Middlemarch. I live with my sister Celia and my uncle. My uncle is kind and takes care of us. He wants us to marry good men. Celia is happy with small things. She likes pretty dresses and soft colors. But I am different. I want a big life. I want to do something good and useful. I want to help poor people and make their lives better. Sometimes people say I dream too much. They say I should think about clothes and parties, but I do not care about those things. I like to read and think. I want to learn about the world. I want to marry a man who is wise, a man who can teach me, a man who has a big mind and a kind heart. I think marriage should have a purpose, not just love. I want to be part of something good and important. One day I met a man named Mr. Casaubon. He was much older than me. His hair was gray and his face was serious. People said he was a very clever man. They said he was writing a great book about religion and history. When I talked to him, he spoke about ideas and books. I thought he was very wise. I thought he understood the truth about life. When he looked at me, I felt that he saw my heart. I thought he was the one. My sister Celia did not like him. She said he was too old. She said he did not smile. But I told her that love is not about fun or beauty. It is about respect and learning. I believed that I could help him. I could be his friend and his helper. I could share his great work. When Mr. Casaubon asked me to marry him, I said yes. I felt lucky. I thought my life was starting. I thought I would have a great purpose with him. The wedding was small. People in town whispered that I made a strange choice. Some said I wanted his money. Others said I did not understand what I was doing. But I did not listen. I loved him in my own way. I wanted to make him happy. After the wedding, we left for Rome. I had never been outside England before. I was full of hope. I thought we would visit old churches and talk about his book. I wanted to learn everything. But in Rome, things did not go as I dreamed. The city was full of noise, people, and old buildings. I wanted to share my thoughts with Mr. Casaubon, but he was always busy. He sat at his desk every day reading and writing. He did not talk much. When I asked him about his work, he gave short answers. I tried to help, but he said he did not need help. Sometimes he looked tired and annoyed. I did not understand why. I began to feel lonely. I walked through the streets of Rome, looking at the statues and churches. Everything was beautiful, but I felt empty inside. I wanted to talk to him about how I felt, but he was cold and distant. He only spoke about his book and his health. I tried to be patient. I told myself that he was a great man and that I should not disturb him. But sometimes I cried at night. I felt that he did not see me. One day, a young man came to visit us. His name was Will Ladislaw. He was Mr. Casaubon's cousin. He was kind and full of energy. He liked art and music and spoke with feeling. He made me laugh. He told me about the beauty of life and the power of hope. I felt light when he was near. But Mr. Casaubon did not like him. He said Will was lazy and foolish. I did not think so. Will made me see things differently. He made me feel alive again. Still, I wanted to be a good wife. I wanted to make my husband proud. I thought maybe he would love me more if I worked hard and stayed quiet. But nothing changed. He grew more silent. When I smiled, he did not smile back. When I tried to help him with his work, he looked away. I began to see that he was not kind, only proud. He cared more for his book than for me. One evening in Rome, I sat by the window and looked at the sunset. The sky was red and gold. I thought about my dreams before marriage. I had wanted to do good things. I had wanted to learn and share a great life with someone. But now I was a wife who sat alone in a quiet room while her husband worked in silence. My heart ached. I realized that wisdom without kindness is cold. Knowledge without love is nothing. When we returned to Middlemarch, I hoped things would be better. I thought home would make him gentle, but he was the same. He spoke little and looked tired all the time. I tried to make our house warm and peaceful, but he only cared for his books. People in the town started to say that our marriage was strange. They said I looked sad. I smiled at them and said everything was fine, but inside I knew the truth. He never understood my heart. At night, I would sit by the fire and think about my life. I was young and full of dreams, but I felt trapped in silence. I wanted to believe there was still a way to make this life meaningful. I told myself that maybe I could help poor families in the town. Maybe I could do good on my own. I still believed in kindness and purpose. But sometimes, I looked at my husband and wondered if he would ever truly see me. Not as his wife, not as his helper, but as a woman who wanted to love and be loved. Before I continue rest of the story, please like, subscribe, share, and tell me where you are listening from. Your support means a lot to me. Now let's continue. After we came back from Rome, our house felt cold. It was large and quiet. Mr. Casaubon sat in his study all day. I often walked alone in the garden. I liked to look at the trees and the light in the morning. Sometimes I prayed and asked God to help me understand my life. I wanted to be thankful, but my heart was heavy. I wanted to be useful and kind, but I did not know how. My husband did not talk to me about his thoughts or his plans. When I asked if I could help him with his book, he said no. He said I could not understand his work. Those words hurt me deeply. I began to see the truth. I had married a man who wanted respect, not love. He wanted someone to listen, not someone to speak. I had thought I could share his world, but he kept the door closed. When we had dinner together, he spoke only about old books or people I did not know. He never asked me what I felt or what I wanted. He never tried to make me laugh or smile. He did not see that I was lonely. One day, my uncle came to visit us. He talked with my husband about church and money. I stayed quiet. When my uncle left, he said softly, "My dear, you look tired." I smiled and said I was fine, but inside, I felt small. I had so many dreams, but now I felt trapped in a life I did not understand. A few weeks later, Will Ladislaw came to Middlemarch. He said he wanted to see my husband and talk about some family business. When I saw him again, I felt happy. He was warm and friendly, just like before. He asked how I was. I wanted to tell him the truth, but I only said, "I am well." Still, he looked at me kindly, as if he could see my sadness. We walked together in the garden. He spoke about art, books, and people. His words were full of life. For the first time in months, I felt alive too. I listened to him and forgot my worries for a moment. But when my husband saw us talking, his face grew dark. That night, he was cold and distant. He said that Will was not a serious man and that I should not spend time with him. I did not want to make my husband angry, so I said nothing. After that, I saw Will only a few times, but I thought about our talks often. He made me remember my younger self, the girl who wanted to help others and live with meaning. I missed that girl. I wondered where she had gone. As the days passed, my husband's health grew worse. He looked pale and tired. He spent more time in bed. Sometimes he asked me to read to him, but most of the time he wanted to be alone. I tried to care for him, but he did not thank me. Once, when I tried to touch his hand, he pulled away. My heart broke a little more that day. People in town began to whisper. They said Mr. Casaubon was not well. Some said he would not live long. I did not want to believe it. Even though he was cold to me, he was still my husband. I wanted to help him. I wanted him to trust me. One morning, he called me into his room. His face looked tired, but his eyes were sharp. He said, "Dorothea, if I die, I want you to remember me kindly." I said, "Of course. I will always remember you." He gave a small nod and said, "There is something I wish you to promise. I want you to be careful after I am gone. You must not make a mistake that will bring shame to my name." His words confused me. I asked, "What do you mean?" He said nothing more, only that I would understand later. I left the room feeling afraid and sad. The next weeks were quiet. I prayed often. I tried to stay strong. Will came to the house once to say goodbye before leaving town. He said he wanted to travel and find work. I wished him well. When he looked into my eyes, I saw something. Kindness, maybe love. But we said nothing more. Soon after, my husband became very ill. The doctor said he should rest and not work. But he did not listen. He tried to write every day. One evening, he asked me to bring him his papers. I saw his hand shaking. I said, "Please rest. You need sleep." He looked at me and said, "You do not understand my work, Dorothea. It must be finished." His voice was weak, but still proud. I wanted to tell him that I only wanted him to be well, but he would not hear it. Late one night, I woke to a strange sound. I went to his study. He was sitting in his chair, his head bent forward. I touched his shoulder and called his name, but he did not answer. The candle burned low. I felt my heart stop. I called for help, but it was too late. He was gone. I sat beside him for a long time. My tears fell quietly. I thought about our marriage, our years together. I had wanted so much, but he had given me so little. I had tried to understand him, but he never understood me. Now it was over. After his funeral, I was alone in the big house. People said I was a rich widow now, but money meant nothing to me. I felt empty. My heart was tired. The lawyer came to see me about my husband's will. He spoke in a quiet voice and said, "There is one strange part of the will, Mrs. Casaubon. If you ever marry Will Ladislaw, you will lose all your money." For a moment, I could not speak. My hands felt cold. My husband had not trusted me even in death. He had written this cruel thing because he was jealous. I felt pain deep in my heart. I had never done anything wrong, but he still wanted to control me. That night, I sat alone by the fire. I thought about my life, my choices, my dreams. I had married a man I thought was wise. I had wanted to do good things, but I had only learned pain. Yet, in that quiet moment, I also felt something new. I was free. For the first time in my life, I could choose what to do. I could live for myself and for others, not for someone who never saw me. I went to the window and looked at the stars. I felt small, but alive. I whispered, "He never understood my heart, but now I will learn to understand it myself." The days after my husband's death passed slowly. People came to visit and said kind words, but I felt far away from everything. The house was quiet and full of his books. His voice was gone, but his shadow was everywhere. I walked through the rooms and thought about the years I had spent there. I was only 21, but I felt much older. My life had been full of silence and duty. Now, for the first time, I had no one to please. I did not know if I should feel free or lost. Some people in town said I was lucky. They said I had money and a good name. But I did not feel lucky. I felt sad and lonely. I wanted to use my life for something good. I began to visit poor families in the town. I listened to their problems and tried to help them. It gave me peace to do something kind. When I helped others, I forgot my pain for a while. One day, I heard that Will Ladislaw had come back to Middlemarch. My heart jumped when I heard his name. I told myself that it did not matter, but deep inside I knew it did. I had not seen him since the day my husband died. I wondered if he hated me because of what my husband wrote in his will. I knew Will must have heard about it. Everyone in town had. People loved to talk. A few days later, I saw him at my uncle's house. He looked the same, kind, full of life, his eyes bright and gentle. When he saw me, he smiled softly. I felt shy and did not know what to say. He asked how I was, and I said, "I am trying to live well." He looked at me for a long moment and said, "You always tried to live well, Mrs. Casaubon." His voice was quiet, but full of care. We talked for a little while. He told me he had found some work helping a local newspaper. He wanted to write about change and fairness. I liked that. It reminded me of my old dreams, to help people, to make life better. When he spoke, I felt hope again. He was not rich or powerful, but he cared about truth. He cared about people. That was more important to me than anything. After that day, we met often. Sometimes it was at my uncle's house, sometimes in the town. We talked about many things: books, people, kindness, and life. I did not think about love at first. I only felt calm and happy in his company. He made me laugh again. He made me believe that my heart could feel light after all that pain. But not everyone liked that we were friends. People in Middlemarch began to whisper again. They said it was wrong for a young widow to spend time with her husband's cousin. They said I only liked him because of his looks. I felt angry and hurt. I knew that was not true. But Will heard the same things, and one day he told me he would leave the town. When he said that, I felt something break inside me. I asked him, "Why must you go?" He said, "Because I do not want to bring shame to your name. People talk too much." His words were kind, but they felt like goodbye. I wanted to tell him that I did not care about what people said. I wanted to tell him that I cared about him, but I could not find the words. That night, I could not sleep. I sat by the window and watched the rain. I thought about my husband's will. I thought about how he had tried to keep me tied to the past, and I thought about Will, how he made me feel alive and honest. I realized that I had spent too much time trying to please others. I had lived by other people's rules. I wanted to live by my own heart now. The next morning, I went to find him. He was at the newspaper office working. When he saw me, he looked surprised. I said, "You must not leave because of me. I am not afraid of people's talk. Let them say what they like. I want to be your friend. I want to stand by what I feel." His eyes filled with light. He said softly, "Dorothea, you do not know what that means to me." I smiled and said, "Yes, I do." From that day, things changed. We saw each other often, but we were careful. We talked about the world, about work, and about helping others. I began to feel strong again. I knew now that life could be good, even after pain. Months passed, and one evening he came to visit me. It was quiet and warm. He said, "I am leaving for London. There is work there for me." I felt a sharp pain in my heart. I said, "Then this is goodbye?" He looked down and said, "Only if you want it to be." For a moment we were both silent. Then I said softly, I do not want it to be goodbye." He took my hand, and we both understood. When he left for London, I stayed in Middlemarch for a while. People still talked, but I stopped caring. I knew what was right for me. 1 year later, I went to London to marry Will. Many people in town were shocked. They said I had thrown away my money and my good name, but I did not care. I had learned that peace of heart is worth more than money or pride. In London, our life was simple. We lived in a small house with few things, but we were happy. We talked, we worked, we shared our dreams. I helped him with his writing. He encouraged me to help others. I felt free for the first time in my life. Sometimes I thought about my first husband. I did not hate him. I only felt sorry that he never understood love. He lived for his book, but I learned to live for people. I understood now that love is not about power or pride. It is about kindness, trust, and care. When I walked through the city and saw people smile, I felt thankful. Life had not been easy for me, but it had taught me what truly mattered. I had found the peace that I once looked for in books and prayers. I had found it in a simple, honest heart. My story was not one of wealth or fame. It was the story of learning to be free. He never understood my heart, but I did. And that made all the difference. Thank you for listening to this story. If you enjoyed this story, please like the video and subscribe to English Medium Stories. Stay with us for more classic stories in easy English. My name is Florence. I am 24 years old. I am from Scotland, and I work as an air hostess for Qatar Air. I loved this job from the first day. I liked the bright lights in the airport. I liked meeting new people. I liked the feeling when the plane left the ground. My heart felt light. My mind felt free. I felt proud each time I put on my uniform. I felt like I was going somewhere big in life. I also needed this job because I wanted to support my family. I wanted a good future for my husband and my child. But my life was not easy. I traveled day and night. Some days I woke up in one country and fell asleep in another. My body felt tired. My eyes felt heavy. Sometimes I looked at my face in the hotel mirror and felt that I did not know this woman anymore. She looked strong, but she also looked lost. She looked like someone who wanted two things at the same time. She wanted to fly, but she also wanted to stay on the ground. I had one child at home. His name is Adam. He was only 3 years old. He had soft blonde hair and warm blue eyes. When he smiled, it felt like the sun filled the whole room. My husband, Mark, took care of him when I traveled. Mark was a quiet man, kind and patient. He worked from home so he could spend more time with our son. He never complained about my job. He said he understood. He said he was proud of me. He said that our son would be proud of me too one day. But still, each time I left home, I felt a small pain in my heart. It felt like a tiny crack that grew bigger day by day. One morning I had a flight to Singapore. It was a long route, and I would be away for 6 days. I woke before sunrise. The sky was dark and the air was cold. I packed my suitcase with slow hands. My husband watched me from the bed. He looked sleepy but warm. His eyes were soft, but I could see a small sadness in them. Maybe he did not want me to go, but he did not say it. He never said it. He always tried to be strong for me. "Are you all right?" I asked softly. "I'm fine," he said with a small smile. "Just tired. You should hurry or you will be late." I wanted to sit next to him. I wanted to stay. But I also needed to go. This job gave us money. This job gave us safety. This job gave me a future. So I kissed him on the forehead. I kissed my sleeping child on the cheek. I whispered, "Mama loves you," even though he could not hear me. Then I walked out the door. At the airport, everything moved fast. People rushed in all directions. Bags rolled across the floor. Announcements echoed through the walls. I was used to this noise. It felt like a second home. I put on my bright smile as I greeted passengers. But inside, I was quiet. Inside, I was thinking of my husband holding our son when he woke up. I imagined Adam asking, "Where is Mama?" I imagined Mark saying, "She is working." I asked myself if this was fair to them. During the flight, I served drinks and meals. I answered questions. I showed smiles, but they did not reach my heart. When I had a short break, I sat near the back of the plane and checked my phone. There was a picture from Mark. It showed Adam eating breakfast with a big smile. My heart warmed. But the warmth also hurt. It felt like being close and far at the same time. "Miss, could I have some water?" a passenger asked, pulling me back to work. "Yes, of course," I said quickly. I stood up and worked again. But my thoughts stayed at home. When we landed, I felt the same mix of pride and pain. I loved my job, but I loved my family more. I did not know how to choose only one. In the hotel, I felt the silence first. It hit me each time I entered a room alone. The room looked clean and bright, but it did not feel warm. I missed the sound of my child's laughter. I missed the smell of breakfast in the morning. I missed my husband saying, "Welcome home." I sat on the bed and opened a video call. My husband answered. I saw his face and my son's small head resting on his shoulder. "Mama," Adam said, waving his little hand. His voice was sweet and full of joy. It made my eyes warm with tears. "Hello, my love," I said with a smile. "Are you being a good boy?" He nodded fast and pointed at the food on the table. "I ate pancakes." "That's great." I laughed softly. My husband looked tired but happy. "We are fine. Don't worry. Just focus on your work. We will be here when you come back." His words were kind, but something inside me felt heavy. I did not want him to think I cared less. I wanted him to know that I missed him. I wanted him to know that I feared something. I feared waking up one day and seeing that we were growing apart. I feared that he would get tired of waiting. I feared that he might find comfort somewhere else, even though he never gave me a reason to doubt him. The fear came from me, from my own heart, from my own guilt. After the call, I lay on the bed and stared at the ceiling. I listened to the hum of the air conditioner. I closed my eyes. In my mind, I saw my son running in the park. I saw my husband lifting him up. I felt like a stranger in my own life. I was part of two worlds, but I could not stand fully in either one. The next day I woke early. I had another long flight. I felt the same mix of joy and sadness. I worked well. I smiled. I helped people. But each time I had a moment to breathe, my mind went back home. I checked my phone again and again. I waited for pictures. I waited for messages. Sometimes they came quickly. Sometimes they came late. When they came late, a fear grew in me. I asked myself, is he busy? Is he tired? Is he pulling away? Then I told myself, stop thinking like that. He loves you. But the thought came back each time I felt alone. One night after a long flight, I came back to my room, opened my suitcase, and felt like crying. The room looked small and cold. I missed my child so much that my chest hurt. I picked up my phone and called home. Mark answered. He looked tired. Are you okay? He asked. I think I am just tired, I said. You work very hard, he said. Maybe too hard. His words stayed in my mind. Maybe too hard. I did not want to hear that. I did not want him to think I cared more about work than family, but in a way, I was afraid he was right. After the call, I sat alone. I looked out the window at the distant city lights. They looked beautiful, but they also looked far away. They did not feel like home. In that moment, I asked myself a question I had been avoiding. If I keep living like this, will I lose my family? The question scared me, but I could not ignore it. I felt like a rope pulled from two sides. I wanted to fly high in my job. I wanted to keep my family strong. But each day, the space between these two things grew wider. I still did not know what choice I would make. I still did not know what I would lose or what I would keep. All I knew was that my heart was tired from fighting itself, and my story was only beginning. Before I continue rest of the story, please like, subscribe, share, and tell me where you are listening from. Your support means a lot to me. Now let's continue. When I flew back home after 6 long days, I felt both excited and scared. I wanted to see my family, but I also felt guilty. I walked through the arrival gate with my suitcase. Many passengers hugged their families. Some children ran into their parents' arms. My heart felt tight as I looked around for Mark and Adam. Then I saw them. Adam ran toward me with a big smile. His small hands reached for me, and I lifted him up. His warm little face touched mine. It felt like the greatest gift in the world. "Mama, you came back," he said in a happy voice. "Yes, my love. Mama is here," I whispered. Mark walked slower behind him. He smiled, but it was a tired smile. I kissed his cheek. For a moment we stood close, and I felt safe. But then I felt something else too. It was a small distance, like a quiet space between us that did not exist before. I tried to ignore it. I wanted to pretend everything was the same as before. At home, I unpacked my suitcase and gave Adam a small toy plane I brought for him. He loved it and played on the floor with a loud laugh. Mark watched him and smiled. I wanted to talk to him, but I did not know where to start. I felt like a stranger in my own house. The rooms felt the same, but something inside me felt different. Later that night, after we put Adam to bed, I sat on the sofa with Mark. He looked at me with calm eyes. "You look tired," he said. "I am tired," I answered. "But I am happy to be home." He nodded slowly. "I know you love your job, but I miss you, and Adam misses you too." I felt a sharp pain in my chest. I wanted to speak, but the words stayed inside. "I don't want you to feel bad," he said. "I know you work for us. I know you want a good life, but I also see you getting more tired, and I see our time getting smaller." I looked at his hands. They were gentle and warm, but I felt afraid to take them. "I am trying," I whispered. "I know," he said softly, "but sometimes I feel alone." His words hit me. I knew I loved my family. I knew I wanted both worlds, but I also knew that he was right. I felt alone too, even when surrounded by people on the plane. The next morning, I tried to act normal. I made breakfast. I played with Adam. I laughed with him. But inside, I felt a storm. When I checked my schedule, I saw another long flight in 3 days. My heart sank. I did not want to leave so soon. I wanted more time at home. I wanted to fix the space between me and Mark. After lunch, Mark went out to buy groceries. I stayed home with Adam. He played with his toy plane and said, "Mama, fly?" He lifted the plane in the air. I watched him and felt sad. Even his games reminded me of the world that kept pulling me away. When Mark came back, he looked thoughtful. I asked if something was wrong, and he said, "I was thinking about us, about how we live now." My throat felt tight. "What do you mean?" I asked. "I mean, I want to feel like a team again," he said. "I want us to live the same life, not 2 different lives." His words were simple, but they felt heavy. I did not know what to say. I loved my job. I loved my family. I did not want to choose. Choosing felt like losing a part of myself. That night we lay in bed, but we did not talk much. I listened to his breathing. I knew he was awake too. "Do you think I will lose you one day?" I asked in a quiet voice. He turned to me. Florence, I am here, but I want us to be honest. I want you to be happy. I don't want you to feel trapped, but I also don't want us to drift apart. His words were gentle, not angry, but they made my eyes fill with tears. I turned away so he would not see. The next 2 days passed too fast. I tried to enjoy every moment, but my heart felt heavy. I hugged Adam more than usual. I held Mark's hand when we walked outside. He held it back, but I could feel his worry through his fingers. On the morning of my next flight, I stood by the door with my suitcase. Adam hugged my leg. Mark kissed my forehead. "Come home safe," he said. "I will," I answered. But when I walked away, I felt that something inside me was breaking. I did not know how many more goodbyes I could take. I did not know how many more nights in hotel rooms I could spend alone, thinking about my child and my husband. When I boarded the plane, I smiled at the passengers as always, but the smile was thin. My heart felt heavy. I did my job, but every moment felt slower. During my break, I sat in the back of the plane again. I held my phone. I looked at a picture of my family. I felt the same question rising again and again. How long can I live like this? There was no answer. Only the sound of the plane moving forward, taking me far from home once again. When I reached the hotel after my next long flight, I felt empty. I closed the door and sat on the bed. The room was quiet, but not in a nice way. It felt cold and lonely. I took out my phone and looked at the pictures Mark sent. In one picture, Adam held a small toy car. In another, he sat on Mark's shoulders. They both looked happy, but something inside me felt heavy. I felt far away from them, even though I looked at them every day. I called home. Adam answered with a big smile. "Mama, look, I made a picture." He held up a paper with 3 stick people. One was tall, one was small, and one was tiny. "This is us," he said proudly. "It is perfect," I told him. My voice shook a little. When he went to sleep, Mark stayed on the call. His face looked tired. "Are you okay?" I asked. He nodded, but slowly. "I'm fine. Just a long day." I watched him. His eyes looked warm, but also sad. "Talk to me," I said softly. He took a breath. "Florence, I miss you. I miss us. I know you love your job. I know you work hard for our future. But I feel alone many days. My chest hurt. I don't want you to feel that way." "I know," he said. "But you are away a lot. And I worry. I worry that we are becoming 2 different people. I worry we will wake up one day and not know each other." I felt tears in my eyes. "Do you want me to stop working?" He shook his head. "I want you to think. That's all. Think about what kind of life you want. Think about what kind of mother you want to be. Think about what kind of wife you want to be. I will support you.
but I cannot make the choice for you. His words stayed with me long after the call ended. I sat on the bed and stared at the wall. I loved him. I loved Adam. I loved my job too.
But I could not be in two places at the same time. And now the weight of that truth felt heavier than ever. When I flew home again, Adam ran to me at the airport as always. I lifted him up and held him close. Mark hugged me too. His arms were warm, but his hug felt different. It was gentle, careful, like he was afraid to hold on too tight. For the next few days, I tried to be present. I cooked dinner. I played with Adam. I sat with Mark and watched movies. These moments felt warm and real. But each time I opened my work schedule, I saw more long flights waiting for me. One night, after we put Adam to bed, Mark and I sat together in the living room. Neither of us talked for a while. The room felt quiet, but not peaceful. "I don't want to lose us," I said finally. "You won't," he answered. "But we need to make changes. Not for me only. For you too. I see how tired you are." He was right. I did feel tired. Not only in my body, but in my heart. I wanted to keep flying. I also wanted to be home. I wanted everything, but I could not reach both sides at the same time. "I don't know what to do," I whispered. "You don't have to decide today," he said. "Just think. Think with your heart, not only with fear." That night, I lay awake for a long time. I listened to both of them breathing in their sleep. My family was right here, close and warm. But I also knew that soon I would pack my suitcase again. I would close the door. I would walk away. And every time I walked away, something inside me felt weaker. In the morning, when I looked at my uniform, I felt two feelings at once. Pride and pain. I wanted to stay home. I wanted to fly. I wanted both. And that was the hardest part. Before I left for my next flight, Mark kissed my forehead. "We will find a way," he said softly. I hoped he was right, but I also knew the truth. My life was still busy. My heart was still pulled in two directions, and I still did not have an answer. My story did not end with a clear choice. I did not decide that night. I still fly. I still come home. I still stand between the sky and my family. And every time I close the door with my suitcase in my hand, I ask the same quiet question. Can I really have both? I do not know yet. But I am still here, walking this road step by step in my busy life. Thank you for listening to this story. If you enjoyed this story, please like the video and subscribe to English Medium Stories. Stay with us for more classic stories in easy English.